So what do you know about filters on your synthesizer? Today we're going to look at the three basic types of filters, how they sound, what resonance does, and talk a little bit about the meat of what's happening underneath the hood of your synthesizer. You ready? Let's do this. Hello everybody, Chris Cline here with Alamo Music in San Antonio. It's been about 2 years since I last saw you. It feels really good to be back, and today we're going to discuss synthesizer filters. Behind me, I have the Jupiter 6, and the reason why I've chosen this is the Jupiter 6 incorporates three different filters, the main types of filters: low pass, high pass, and band pass. It also uses the same filter chip as many other Roland synthesizers, the Juno 106, the Juno 60, a couple of other Jupiters, and there's a few more. Can't remember all of them. I'm getting old. My brain is falling apart. But what we want to do today is we want to listen to the pure tone of the filter without adding any kind of modulation or anything else. The only thing we're going to listen to is the cutoff and the resonance. And we're going to do this for all three filter types using some arpeggios that I've programmed into the Jupiter 6. We're also going to look at what a filter is doing on a spectrum analyzer using some material that I recorded with my mini Moog in my home studio, which is really cool because you can actually see the filter move on the EQ plugin, and then you can actually see the spectrum analyzer mimic the movement of the filter, which is really neat. If you've never seen that visual before, it's pretty cool. Again, we're just talking about the basics, and we're not going to get really deep into modulation and everything else. So let's go ahead and listen to the Jupiter 6. I programmed an arpeggio, and the first filter we're going to listen to is the low pass filter. We're going to sweep the cutoff and just listen to the filter in its purest state, and then we're going to add resonance, which creates a peak on the filter, which gives it a little more character, and it makes it a little more fun. You ready? Here we go. The next filter we're going to listen to on the Jupiter 6 is going to be the high pass filter. Same process, little simple arpeggio that I programmed in, just the cutoff, and then we're going to listen to the resonance as well, and you can hear how this differs from the low pass filter. And the next filter we're going to listen to is the bandpass filter. This is a really unique filter in that what it does is it only lets frequencies in the center pass while the lows and the highs are being cut off. It's a really, really neat filter. You don't hear it too often, but it does exist for a reason, so let's go ahead and take a listen to that one as well. So the Jupiter's filter works at 24 dB per octave. What that means is from 440 to 880 or 440 to 220, it's going to cut 24 dB of signal as you're moving the filter around. This is pretty extreme. It causes for greater coloration and a little more excitement. When you add resonance into it, it gets even more exciting. Now, other filters are going to work at 12 dB, sometimes at 18 dB. This, at 24, is a 4-pole. At 12 dB, it's 2-pole. At 18, it's 3-pole. So each pole equals 6 dB. The Steiner-Parker filter that you're going to see or hear on a lot of Arturia synthesizers, it's a 12-pole. Sometimes you can switch from 12 to 14. It just depends on the synthesizer. There are so many different flavors out there, we really can't cover everything. But what we're trying to do today is just give you an introduction to what these filters do, how they sound, and more importantly, once we get the Moog into here, how they look. And speaking of the Moog, let's go ahead and do that. So now we're going to listen to the Moog, and the first filter we're going to listen to is a 24 dB per octave or a 4-pole low-pass filter with no resonance. Now I'm using the EQ3 plugin from Pro Tools or from Avid, along with Isotope's Insight for the Spectrum Analyzer. And I want you to pay attention to what's happening on the Spectrum Analyzer as the filter is being swept from lows to highs. You will see that the Spectrum Analyzer is going to mimic that as well. Another thing that's really cool is you can actually see the harmonic content, which is a lot of fun. It's almost like you can see the waveform itself being drawn in the Spectrum Analyzer. If you're not used to this, it takes a little bit of time, a little bit of training to understand what you're looking at, but for some of you that are a little more advanced in your synthesis knowledge, you'll see it immediately. So let's go ahead and listen to the Moog really fast with the low-pass filter incorporated. Now we're going to listen to the Moog once again, but with the high-pass filter incorporated, and we're going to be using the same tool so you can see what's happening with the EQ, you can hear what's happening with the sound, and you can see it happening at the same time on the Spectrum Analyzer. Let's go ahead and listen to that. And finally, we're going to listen to the Mini Moog in bandpass or with a bandpass filter using the same plugins that I talked about before. But here's the trick, and this is just a little Pro Tools tidbit for some of you Pro Tools users out there. You can actually put Pro Tools EQ3 in either a single band or 7-band mode by holding down Control and Shift. It's a really, really cool trick because otherwise that mode doesn't exist. So let's go ahead and listen to the Moog in bandpass mode as well, and let's also look at what's happening on the Spectrum Analyzer. Again, this was just a primer for filters. There's so much more that we can get into when you start getting into modulation, keyboard tracking, using envelopes, but we just wanted to listen to these filters in their purest form. We discussed low pass, high pass, and band pass, listen to the cutoff and the resonance. If you don't understand what's happening here, the other stuff is going to be lost. So it's really, really important to understand what's happening with these types of filters, what you're listening to, and then being able to see it as well can really be helpful too at times. If you want to know more about filters, or if you want to discuss what we talked about today, leave us comments down below and reach out to us. We're here to help however we can. We love this stuff. We're nerds for it. If you're watching, you probably are too. It's cool to be a nerd. Wear that badge with great pride. So let's go ahead and end this little session on filters today. Remember, you can find us on the web at alamomusic.com. We have lots of wonderful products that incorporate all kinds of great different filters across multiple synthesizer brands and models. Just let's get a conversation going, and let's do this again. Let's explore filters again, and let's get more into the meat of how we can actually manipulate these and incorporate them into songs and other productions. Again, I'm Chris Cline. It's Alamo Music. Thank you so much. It's finally starting to get a little cooler here in San Antonio. Hopefully it is where you live as well. We will see you again soon. Bye-bye.